Yo, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing. Team King of Games in this thing, baby. I have a couple things I want to state before we hop into this deck profile. I won't be long. I actually have 6 more decks to showcase today. I'm doing a lot of stuff for the channel today. But first and foremost, I would like to ask a small favor to you guys. The same card shop that I told you guys about, Gerards Gaming, I'm going to leave a link in the description box below. I need you guys to help me out. We're trying to build this shop up. It's a card shop that originally did Magic, and we're just getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh! So if you do stay in the Houston area, if you're around in Texas, or if you know anybody in Houston, please do me a favor. Go down to that card shop, check it out. You will not be disappointed. The same deck video that you guys saw with my Yang Zins dueling against Dark Magicians, the same deck profile of the Yang Zin True King, that's the card shop that I went to, that I went undefeated at. Got this token here, awesome token, but we're just trying to promote that as much as possible. We're trying to get it back and up and running, and we want fluctuation. We want overwhelming numbers of people, and we're just trying to get business rolling. So if you guys are in the Houston area, I ask if you please do me that favor. Check out Gerard's Card Gaming Shop. Without further ado, let's talk about this deck profile. So this is Draco variation number 6. As I told you guys, I'm going to show you 12 different ways to play Dracos. 3 of which were actually not my original ideas, being the True Draco Zodiac, that's obvious, being the True Draco Cosmo Metaphor thing, and pure True Draco, just the pure True Draco. Those 3 variations are actually the only 3 variations that people play, ironic enough. Now, the variation that I'm showcasing to you guys is True Draco Satellarknight. It is a lit and superb deck. This was just something that I wanted to do for a while, but again, I never had the True Draco stuff until about a week ago. So I've been doing a lot of crazy stuff with this deck, which I think is really, really phenomenal, how this deck can just be thrown into anything. True Dracos is almost like a Zodiac engine, how you can just splash it. But yeah, Sttelarknights have great synergy with this deck. With the True Dracos, of course, we have a lot of continuous traps that we can use. And in addition to that, being able to just loop your resources and still bring out that masterpiece on your opponent's turn. And you know, when you summon your Trivia, masterpiece is unaffected by monsters, so you get a free swing at your opponent's face for 5,050, which is really, really clutch. So I love the way the deck works, and it just basically slowly punches your opponent to death, getting free punches and swings at your opponent's life points directly. Trivia obviously being the star of the deck next to Masterpiece. Anything that cannot be targeted or destroyed, you're out to it, is Trivia. So I do love that Sttelarknights have that built-in out to where you can get rid of anything that can't be targeted, because the main problem that True Dracos had is that if a monster or, if a card can't be targeted, basically, they can't get rid of it. If they can't attack over it or target it and destroy it, they can't get over it. So having Sttelarknights built in with True Dracos gives you instant access to that out. If a monster, for example, Cosmo Dark Destroyer, just for example, Dark Destroyer can't be targeted. So if Masterpiece doesn't have an attack boost from Dragonic Diagram, he's only at 2950. He can't punch over, over the Dark Destroyer. And if he doesn't have, for example, True Draco Apocalypse. But it's even worse if a monster can't be targeted by card effects or destroyed by battle, then True Dracos just can't get over it. And it's really that true. Pure True Dracos, that is. So that's why I like how this deck works, because the weaknesses that True Dracos had, Sttelarknights make up for that, and the weaknesses that Sttelarknights have, not having basically high firepower and the ability to out cards on your opponent's turn, that's where the True Dracos come in. So I think the deck is so perfect, it complements each other well. Without further ado or rambling, I apologize for the rambling, but the most important thing in the beginning, I got that out the way, and that was not rambling. That's crucial information that I need you guys to take care of that for me, please. So let's hop to this deck profile. We are running, of course, 2 copies of Masterpiece, the boss monster of the deck, Trivia also being the boss monster of the deck as well, but we'll get to that. We are playing 2 copies of Brass Knuckles. I finally figured out, somebody had commented telling me what it was. I was trying to figure out what the heck these were. I'm calling him Brass Knuckles now. And 1 copy of Whiskey Fireball. Now, I'm not playing 3 of any Dracos, and I'm only playing 1 Fireball, obviously, because even though it's a good card in a non-pure True Draco deck, especially this being Sttelarknights where we need traps more, this guy is kind of more of like a recovery play. He's definitely a powerful card to go in second to bait out that Trident, but I did not want to do 2 Brass Knuckles and 2 Fireballs. I just didn't want to do it. So that's it for the 5 Draco monsters. Now, moving forward to the Sttelarknights, we are playing 3 copies of Deneb. Check my camera out. Booyah. 3 copies of Deneb, the Stratos of the deck. 3 copies of Altair, aka Wolf Bark. 2 copies of Ukulele. Play that Ukulele all you want. I just run 2. I feel like it's a perfect number. 1 copy of Sammy for game, burn for 1,000, overlay into Kagaga Cowboy, inflict 1,800. This guy helps you win games that you never should have won. For example, if your opponent has a masterpiece, that's a great example, and you can't get over it because you just run mostly monsters and traps. He tributed a trap and monster. You can just keep summoning that Sammy, burning for 1,000 until it's over. And even if your opponent has an established field, he has 5 monsters. You know, you're playing dinos. It's like they went ham. They have 5 monsters. All you need to do is get this guy on the field. And for example, if you normal summon him and they chain Ultimate Conductor, he still got summoned, so his effect will not miss timing, which is really, really cool. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know that he got summoned and his effect will not miss timing. So you can still burn your opponent to death. So this guy just helps you win if you cannot attack your opponent directly, basically. He's really, really clutch, and the 1,000 damage is huge. And 1 Vega to sum up the monster count, because Vega is really, really cool. She helps you to actually loop your Triviers. You can go, for example, Altair, Vega, Deneb, bam, you have your Trivier, and you also have another Altair search from your deck. The monster count is 15, I believe. Now for the spells, we are playing 3 copies of Double D's. Broken, really, really broken. This card is so great in this deck because sometimes you'll have, for example, you'll draw into an Altair, right? This is so cool. This is another thing that I think makes this deck so cool. You draw into an Altair and a Deneb, right? And you're like, I can normal Deneb, but I have Diagram. So what you can do is activate Diagram, destroy Deneb from your hand, search, normal summon Altair, special summon that Deneb that you just sent from your hand to the grave by destroying it with Diagram. So Diagram actually sets you up well for your Wolf Bark and other combos for the Sttelarknights. Again, another reason why I think Sttelarknight True Draco is so powerful. And no, it has never been tried before. I would give credit where credit's due if somebody had, you know, tried this before in the past. But this is an original deck idea, normally as all my decks are. 3 copies of Optimus Prime. I finally got 3 super rares, 3 matching super rares to put into, you know, for extra decks, because, you know, I gotta have my Hero to Perfection. I gotta have it. But 3 Optimus Prime nonetheless, finally supers. I don't even know if I want to get the ultis now. 3 copies of Duality. Such a great card in this deck. Really, the only time you're going to be special summoning first turn is if you have Vega or that combo that I explained where you diagram away your Deneb, or you can diagram away any Sttelarknight that's not Altair, then normal him, special it, activate its effect, and then go straight into Bat Lamius, which is one of the newer XYZs, and then go into your Deltaros, which is a much better floater. Or you could go into Trivier, ditch a card from your opponent's hand. All the Xyzs float, which is really cool. They just have to be sent to the grave. So in a way, it's kind of like how Yang Zins float, but even more broken because they don't need to be destroyed. But anyways, Duality is great going first because you never really special summon. And most of the time, your special summoning is going to be on your opponent's turn off of Call the Haunted. And if you don't need to make sure V8 to clear your opponent's cards, if there's nothing in your way, you can just attack with the Sttelarknights that you brought out off your call. So Duality is just such a great card in this deck. I'm not playing Demise because I actually am playing 15 monsters, and I feel that that's a bit too much for a Demise build. You can play Demise if you want, but it clogs a bit too much for me personally. And I like for my decks to be as consistent as possible. It's just how I like to play Yu-Gi-Oh! We're also playing 2 copies of Heritage. I have not nicknamed this card yet, but I always call it Brilliant Fusion. And then 2 more copies of Brilliant Fusion. These are just such great starter cards because you can normal summon your Deneb, use Deneb's effect to search, or normal Ukulele, use it to dump in Foolish Burial. Then activate one of these and tribute summon and summon your Knuckles, which I call Brass Knuckles, or your Fireball, Whiskey Fireball, for example. And, you know, just set up pretty cool. So I like that they give you the additional normal summons because this deck, you know, of course, under Duality, it can't special summon first turn. So it does help to make your field presence a bit more relevant and puts more than one problem on the board because Sttelarknights naturally put one problem on the board, and you know, if your opponent outs it, it's kind of hard, and you need Call the Haunted and, you know, Oases and stuff like that to recover. I'm also playing 2 copies of Magical Planner. You do not have to play this. Honestly, you don't have to play any card that I'm running. But I just feel like this is such a great card because your targets for it, in addition to the Call of the Haunted, which the Sttelarknights are famous for, you actually can directly activate your True King's Return or your Apocalypse from your deck via, you know, Brass Knuckles. And then you can activate Magical Planner and send that to the graveyard, draw 2 cards, and then activate Apocalypse or True King's Return effect in grave to destroy a monster. So you get to draw 2 cards and destroy a monster. So I really like how this works. And it just helps you, like, sometimes you can't actually send your True King's Return to the grave because you either don't have another monster to tribute summon or you don't have Apocalypse to pop it. So you can Magical Planner can actually help you to get rid of monsters, which is really cool. It's just some spicy stuff. I love having spice in all my decks. And finally for the spells, 1 Rhoda. This is a lot of spells, which is really not a good thing for Sttelarknights. They don't need a lot of spells. They actually need a lot of traps because you want to protect the bounce monster you summon. But every single spell that you see is actually necessary and relevant. And the most you could do is probably cut a Rhoda and cut the magical planners. And if you wanted to, which I wouldn't recommend, cut one of the true Draco spells. These are the only 3 that are not necessary, but Rhoda does help because it gives you basically 4 Denebs or 4 Altairs, and Magic Planner just speeds your deck up. It's more draw power, so even though you can cut them, I'm choosing not to. Moving forward with the traps, we are playing 3 copies of Sttelarknight Alpha, which is the judgment of the deck. 3 copies of Solemn Strike, which actually just helps you to out special summon monsters. Most of the time, you can negate monster effects, you know, with your Alpha. And you can disrupt your opponent's plays with Masterpiece and Knuckles. But this is going to be more so when the World Chalice and, you know, Firewall Dragon is legal. You know, those Link monsters. A lot of people thought that Link format would slow down. I told you it would speed up. I told you. I called it, man. And once Link decks are more relevant, because there's going to be actual decks just based on Link monsters. Just all Link monsters. 15 Link monsters and no other monsters. Everybody's going to be special summoning like crazy. And it's funny how Strike has dropped in price. Pick up your strikes. People are feeling like it's a bad card. It's really only bad against true Dracos if they have a Masterpiece and if it's unaffected by traps. That's the only time. 3 copies Call the Haunted. This is one of the most important traps, if not the most, for this deck, because this is how you snowball. This is how you summon Trivier and then use Trivier to bounce it back to hand and have never-ending Call the Haunteds. Endless plays, endless resources. You're never going to die. As long as you can keep bouncing that Call the Haunted, you will never die, which is really cool. So this deck can be really annoying playing against and hard to kill because it just grinds you out to the max. 2 copies of Return and 1 Apocalypse, 1 Solemn Warning, and 1 Torrential Tribute to sum up the trap lineup. Now, there are a few traps that you can run that I'm not running, but I'm just not running them for my own personal reasons. Personal preference, stuff like that. I mean, I did build the deck to be a certain way and, you know, to combat the meta. Moving forward with the extra deck, we are playing 3 of my star, 3 Trivier. So broken. Now, she's a weaker floater than Deltaros because she has to be sent from the field to the graveyard. No, I'm sorry. She has to be sent to the graveyard, not from the field. Read her card text. It says sent to the graveyard while she has XYZ materials. Now, the problem with that is if you warning her summon, even though she's being sent to the graveyard, which you can read right here, not from the field. I'm sorry that I even said that. But even if you, so if your opponent warnings her, she will not get her float effect because she did not technically have XYZ materials because she was never successfully summoned, which kind of sucks. So, you know, that's just food for thought. And if I'm not mistaken, it really doesn't work. You can't float with her. But basically, if your opponent doesn't warning her, she's really clutch because she floats. She has 3 effects. She can discard a card from your opponent's hand. When she's XYZ summoned, she bounces all other cards except for her on the field to the hand. And of course, Masterpiece would be unaffected by monsters, so he won't even be worrying about that. And you basically clear all your opponent's cards and you still have Masterpiece to pop. Then you're going to discard a card from your opponent's hand. And if your opponent sends her to the graveyard and, you know, and doesn't banish her or bounce her, if he sends her to the graveyard by anything, just sends her to the grave, she is going to float and special summon a Sttelarknight from your graveyard. So she is absolutely broken, and I feel that the Sttelarknight XYZs are the safest ones to go into because if they somehow die, they will replace themselves with another friend, which allows you to basically maximize on your XYZ plays because we are in Link format. Another cool way to abuse Sttelarknights is running cards that actually can, you know, tribute her off. For example, Sttelarknight Genesis, Sttelarknight Bridge. Bridge will actually special another one and then put her back to the extra deck. That way you can spam another. Horn of Heaven can clear her off. You know, just different cards that actually require for you to sacrifice a monster would help you to play this deck in Link format if you want to summon more than once. So yeah, 3 Triviers. In tandem with the Triviers, we're also playing 2 copies of Deltaros. This guy's my favorite floater because he actually does not have to have XYZ materials. He literally just has to be sent from the, I'm sorry, not even from the field. I'm going to read it to you. His last effect. So if this card is sent, yeah, I'm sorry, it is from the field. So Trivier, there we go. So Trivier is sent to the graveyard. So Trivier says, if this card is sent to the graveyard while it has XYZ materials, target 1 Sttelarknight monster in your grave, special it. This guy says, if he's sent from the field to the graveyard, special summon a Sttelarknight from your hand or your deck. He's more clutch because he doesn't need XYZ materials. So what makes it more broken is if Trivier dies, Trivier will float. Special summon Deltaros. Deltaros dies. Deltaros will float. Special summon Altair. Altair. Special summon Deltaros. Deltaros dies, it's not once per turn. So it's like a Yang Zing thing, like where you just can't die. And it is totally legal. Look up Deltaros' rulings. If you revive him from the graveyard, if he was successfully XYZ summoned properly, you can use his effect when he's sent from the field to the graveyard to special summon another one. You can look up the ruling, copy, text it, and paste it, and you'll still find it's the same thing. So yeah, it's totally legal and it's broken. Like I said, that's how you can pretty much live. And obviously when Trivier floats and special summons Deltaros from the grave, he'll go to the main monster zone, which is really cool. And when he floats, he's sent from the field to the grave. You will bring out Altair from your hand or your deck. Then use Altair's effect, bring back Deltaros again. So that way when he dies, you'll float. So you just have basically a consistent, never-ending field presence. Which is really, really cool. So the Sttelarknight XYZs are like my favorite ones to go into. I'm also playing 2 copies of Bat Lamius. She allows you to summon any of these guys, basically using 2 monsters, which is really cool. If you play enough Sttelarknights, you can activate her effect during either player's turn, which is cool. To either player's turn, summon Trivier, bounce all cards, which is kind of like Firewall Dragon. And then 1 diamond because, you know, he's clutching this deck. And also the Lightsworn, Twilight Sworn kind of decks are out now. So, you know, you gotta have diamonds so they can't play Yu-Gi-Oh! At all. Ragnomaniac, if you make this guy with 5 materials, you're basically just going to win the duel. 1 Constellar Omega, sometimes I have a problem with True Dracos where I'm just trying to punch for damage, and then they activate that True Draco Apocalypse, right? And they'll use this effect to destroy a True King's Return and try to just pop my monster. So I'll summon Omega for those situations, you know, declare an attack with him. They will activate Apocalypse's effect to half his attack. Now, I'm not going to, you know, worry about that because I'm just trying to punch for damage. So when it activates to half his attack, you can actually, if I'm not mistaken, because return will be a separate chain link, you can chain Omega's effect to make him unaffected by Apocalypse. And even though Apocalypse is destroying return actually activates in a separate chain link. So it will not be able to destroy Omega. For example, like, you know how you can activate Omega and your opponent will chain Forbidden Chalice, for example. If he chains to Omega's effect, Omega will, you know, not be able to use it. But since return is activating in the grave, it's a separate chain. So Apocalypse will be chainlink 1, and you know, Omega's actual effect will be chainlink 2, and it will go off. Then he'll be unaffected, and then your opponent can't use return to destroy him. So I basically use Omega to guarantee games if I'm trying to kill them, to make sure they can't stop me. And of course, he's great against mirror forces. So that's why he's just here. He's a great tech, and you know, it's all lights, so why not? Excalibur, I do not have Utopia the Lightning. I sold my Lightning a long time ago and have never picked him up. That's why you guys haven't seen him in any of my deck profiles, but this guy's basically my filler. Just basically for damage, you know, 4K. Just to help you to attack over anything that's higher than 3,000 attack. I'm sorry, higher than 3,250, because Masterpiece can do the damage for 3,250. 1 Ragnar 0. Everything is running Diagram, so you know, Diagram alters the attack and defense of monsters, so you just get free pops, free nets off of this. Abyss Dweller, because he is just totally staple. Gaga got Cowboy for game, and Rafflesia is actually a proxy for, where is it at? My Castell. I have a bunch of Castells, but my Castells are all being occupied, so I'm just showing you guys Rafflesia as a proxy for Castell. No, you can't use her in this deck because I don't run trap holes, but just think of her as Castell. I hate to proxy, but I'm doing it just this once because I was just a bit too lazy to pull out a Castell from one of my other decks, basically. So yeah, she's a proxy for Castell, but that sums up the deck profile, you guys. Tell me what you think of the deck, and if you think that Sttelarknight True Dracos can actually do something this format, which I already believe it because I know the deck. But yeah, God bless you guys. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. And take care of your families. Pay your bills on time. Make sure you check out Gerard's Gaming Shop. I'm going to leave a description in the description box below. I'm going to leave the address and how you get there. Y'all show up. The tournaments are Thursdays. Come over there. You're going to actually get to meet me and duel me if you show up. So that'll be a clutch, you know, a plus and a privilege. If you do come through like I asked you, you'll get to meet me. You'll get to duel me. Of course, we're going to have a blast. And I love you guys anyway, so it'd be a pleasure to meet you guys. Be safe. Peace out.